Hello, everyone. Hey, this is Saturday Night Live. We're having a Zoom meeting, and we have several people involved here. We'll have some more probably come on later. And I just want to welcome you. Our MC tonight will be Zach Watson, and we have several different things. We have an extra special testimony tonight from Steve and Renee, and Zach will probably be talking about this, but this is our 15th year anniversary date, even in the middle of the COVID-19. So anyway, we've been going on 15 years. So anyway, I'm glad you're with us, and we're looking forward to having a great meeting here tonight, and want the very best for you. And now I'm going to push it over to Zach, and he's going to take it from here.
Well, we're glad everybody decided to join us today or this evening. And like Doug said, it's our 15-year anniversary, and we usually have a big party. And but we're coping and being flexible, and maybe when we get back together, we'll party then. So we're glad you're here tonight. And before we go any further, I just want to say that normally we do something at SNL called Clean Time, and that's where we hand out colorful bracelets. Like a lot of the different meetings will do key tags and things like that, or coins, and we do bracelets, and we have them from just for today all the way up to 10 years. And so we're not doing that here, obviously, because we can't, but we just want to make the public aware that we do that, and invite you to come down and get your bracelet. Hopefully we'll be back together soon. And one other thing that we believe in at SNL is sponsorship, and we don't believe in 13 stepping. We want men with men and women with women, and we work out of the Life Recovery Bible and workbook, and so we just want to encourage sponsorship, and that's something else that you can find at SNL as well. And so we can move it along tonight, I guess, and ready for the step. So please welcome Lisa. Oh, I'm sorry, Patty.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello. Hello,
Okay.
Patty.
Step 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, we made a list of all the persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, we made a direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Thank you.
Sorry about that, Patty.
That's okay.
That was good. Thank you. Everybody give Patty a hand.
Yay.
Now, please welcome Lisa for the step.
Yay, Lisa.
All right, Lisa.
Hello, guys. So as Zach mentioned earlier, we like to work the steps out of the Life Recovery Bible and workbook. And you can get those through SNL if you are interested in getting one. I know they'll change your life. They have mine. So let's get into step 4. As some of you know who've been with me for a minute through my journey as well, you know that step 4 is one of my favorite steps. I used to dread it and I used to hate it, but then I had an opportunity to see it in a new light. And when I got to see it in a new light, it became my absolute favorite. And I hope that when I get done talking today that you see it in a new light as well. So it says, step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And, you know, it's, that sounds pretty scary, to have to truly look at our lives and look at what things are going on in our life and inventorying ourselves. But, you know, in the workbook, there's a little paragraph in here and it says, what is an inventory? When a business takes an inventory, it takes stock of what supplies and merchandise are there. Making an inventory shows us what is necessary, what is surplus, what is useless, and what is a liability. Our lives are like a business, and as such, we must take stock of our abilities, our qualities, and traits, both good and bad. We must examine our accomplishments and our limitations. In order to stay clean and sober and develop spiritually and emotionally, we must face even our worst secrets. So, you know, again, that sounds kind of daunting, scary, facing our worst secrets. But, you know, and the truth is that if you're truly working these steps, you've been building up to this moment. You've been facing them. You've been coming to believe, coming to understand. You've admitted, step 1, you admitted that you were powerless and that your life had become unmanageable. And step 2, you came to believe that there was a power greater than yourself, because you yourself got you where you are. But you came to believe that there was a power that could restore you, that could bring you back to sanity. And then in step 3, you made a decision. You made that decision to allow, to turn over your life and your will and to allow that work to, that power greater than yourself to work in your life. So if you truly believe and you're truly working these steps, then step 4 is a whole new adventure. Who you are in step 4 is not who you were when you started at step 1. If you truly believe that you've worked those 3 steps and you've made that decision, then step 4 is about looking and inventorying your life and deciding who you are and developing and defining who you are in your new recovery, this new world. Because if you truly believe that you've turned your will and your life over to God, then you are a whole new creature, and it's about starting that journey to get to know you. Who am I? Well, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look and see, what things do I have in my life that are good? What things, and for some people, that's the scariest part, is admitting that through all that guilt and shame and regret, that you learn to forgive yourself, that you learn to see the good qualities, to look at what things maybe are good skills, but you were using them for the wrong purpose. Just how can you repurpose some things in your life to help you get to that point where you truly believe this new definition of who you are, moving forward with God. It's very interesting to me, this step, how many people dread it and avoid it, because it uses things and words like fears, resentment, wrongdoings, character flaws. We don't really like those words. And this workbook really, it talks about God's mercy. And so if you truly believe in God's mercy, then taking a moral inventory of yourself here on earth will help you prepare for this life that is to come. So this isn't so much about beating yourself up for the life that you've lived, but preparing yourself for the new journey that you're fixing to be on, the one that you've just accepted. Challenge accepted. I'm moving forward. I'm going to see what God's will is for me. I'm going to be willing to try new things. I'm going to be willing, thus my will and my life, over to the care of somebody other than myself. And so when you look at this, you ask, is there anything standing in the way of my taking action, such as pride or fear? Maybe we're too proud to say, this really wasn't really great. Or maybe we're afraid to admit that we made mistakes. What does it mean if I am fallible? Will people still love me? Will people still like me if I change? And then it talks about, the very next question says, as I trust God in step 3, am I able to let go of pride and fear in step 4 and allow his will to be expressed through me? So, let me just say that I was originally scheduled to do this step a couple of weeks ago, and I called Doug and said, listen, I am really struggling in the midst of life happening, in the midst of everything that's going on and the virus, and watching people struggle day in and day out through my job, and feeling the struggles and the stresses and the strains of myself. I was really struggling to see God's mercy. And I told Doug that I just didn't know if I could talk about God's mercy when I was really struggling to find it in my life. But you have to face that fear. And I was able to let go of being angry and being resentful about the way things are now, this new normal. And I was able to find peace and comfort and being grateful for the things that I do have. Being grateful to have a job where I get to help people and I get to encourage them and tell them they're going to be okay and we're going to make it through this. We are going to do it together. I get to plant seeds. I get to love on people. And I realize that I also get to spend a lot of really wonderful time with my family here at home and growing closer to them. I'm kind of a homebody anyway, but this has been even more different, allowing us to maybe out of lack of boredom, but have more conversation with each other than before. And looking at all the little things that we took for granted that now we are enjoying, and the simple things like taking a drive as a family, or just finding new things that we have in common has been pretty fun. But I've been able to find God's mercy in his forgiveness. It's okay that I was angry. It was okay that I was a little bit resentful and that I was struggling. He still loved me. He still blessed me, and he still blessed the things that I did. And sometimes it's hard for us when we're in that moment and we're feeling those intense emotions to accept that he still loves us. And it's okay to have those things in our life. It's okay. Just because they're there doesn't mean they're all bad. Sometimes we need them to reflect on who we are and to find ourselves in our journey so we don't get lost. Sometimes when you start feeling those things, they help remind you to get back on the path that you want to be on. Sometimes it's a signal that says, hey, I need to do more self-care. Hey, I need to reach out and talk to someone, or maybe I need to be connecting more, get more active, get more into my Bible, get more into my workbook, get more into my steps. Those flares that go up are reminders. So that's why we do this inventory. It's kind of like setting out a roadmap on this new journey. And And sometimes when you go off the path, you have to have a reminder. Sometimes you got to walk through a thorn bush to know that you went off the side of the path. And so this is kind of just planting those thorn bushes along the path to help guide you where you need to go. Look at, what are these wrongdoings that are in my life that I don't want? What are these character flaws that I don't want in my life? But it's also about realizing that through them, some of the things that we see as character flaws are actually strengths. They are things that when we use them for the right purposes and we repurpose them, that recycle, reuse, and we need to do some of that. And so use some of those skills to get us where we need to go. I was able to face some of my fears and finally do some things that I've been putting off. And it was really good to take the time to say, hey, I need to get myself right before I came in and did this step. So I had to do a little inventorying of my own self. And so I hope that you understand that through this step, you shouldn't approach it with all dread and doom and gloom, but excitement for the new journey, rediscovering all of these things about yourself, these skills and tools you didn't remember you had, or how to use them differently. How do I use humor, what I used to use as a defense mechanism? Maybe now I use it as a technique and a tool to help get me through some stuff. It's a little bit different. And so just remember that this is about defining who we are as this new creature for God, this new creature in recovery. And so I hope it's as exciting for you as it has been for me. Every time I work this up, I get more and more excited. But if you've done 1, 2, and 3, then 4 is just the beginning. Thank you.
Thanks, Lise.
Thank you, Lisa.
Good job.
Thank you, Lisa.
That was really good. Thank you, Lisa. And so we're ready for reflection, and that's going to be Paul. So take it away, Paul.
Hello.
Hello, Paul.
Hello, Paul.
The first time I did step 4, when I thought about taking a moral inventory of my life, I had actually started through the steps, and like we read through them tonight, so we know what comes next. You do step 4 and you talk about some of your garbage, and then on down the road here, and in step 8, 9, we actually get rid of the garbage and have to do the work. And when I read step 4, I put my book away for over a year because I didn't want to get to step 4. I didn't want to deal with the garbage that I had in my life, because that's what we tend to do when we think about somebody says, tell me about your inventory of your life. We look at all these bad things that we've done and we make them into huge, huge mountains. And we forget about the comparison of the good stuff in our lives. And being at Saturday Night Live and with the group for so long, I've learned to look at that differently. So anyway, I finally got past step 2 and made it to my step 4. And when you take inventory, we think, well, we're here because we're addicts, and we're here because we have whatever problems it is that is our drug of choice or our behavior of choice, and we identify with that, and so we think, well, that's who I am. And when I do my inventory, I do an inventory of an addict. I don't do an inventory of my life. And so being able to see that more clearly now and doing an inventory of my life, even with the list of bad things that I had done, the good stuff that I had done in my life before way outweighed all the bad things that I have done. If you were just to put them on a scale, maybe 5% bad and 95% good. I've always been the kind of guy who would stop and help you out, would help out with anything, good to people. And but then you think all those good things don't count because I did one bad thing. The one bad washes out my good entire life, and that's not really how it works. So when you're doing your inventory, be realistic. You're not as bad as you think you are. There's a lot of good things, and I know I've heard people talk about having to go ask somebody else, hey, tell me something about me that you think's good, because I can't think of anything myself. And you may have to go find somebody that knows you well and say, hey, what do you think about me? Is there anything good about me? And they'll start saying, well, yeah, you helped me out, you did this, and you get a whole list of things to put on the plus side of your inventory. And then you have your half a dozen really bad, ugly things that they go on there. But when you have the big pile of good next to the bad doesn't look as bad as it did. But even at that, once we get that and we see this as we go to the step and we have to work it and talk about, okay, I have got to deal with the garbage in my life at some point. And we think this is a huge, huge, huge pile. And how am I going to deal with all that? And it's a lot easier when you're doing your inventory just to go, man, I'm going to run from that. I'm going to go hide and I'm not going to deal with it, because that's what addicts do. We don't want to deal with the problems. We want to hide from them and be as comfortable as we can. And so we don't attack the problem. There's an old story that questions ask, how does a pygmy eat an elephant? Pygmy eats an elephant one bite at a time. And if you think about it, I don't know, if you've ever done any kind of construction work, or, if you got a pickup full of gravel, you throw it in there one shovel full at a time, it eventually gets full. And then when you empty it, one shovel full at a time, it will eventually get empty. You just keep plugging at it. And after you've worked for a while, you can see that you're making some success. But you have to actually get started in the work. And I know everybody's walked somewhere and you've looked down the road and thought, oh, that is so far, I'm never going to get there. And you go and you turn, you look back, and the road behind you starts to look longer than the road in front of you, because you've made that much success and gone that much forward. And so, the first time I looked at this, step 4 was a monster, and I didn't want to do it. But now it's so much easier to go and, I behave better now, so that helps some. So the negative side is not as bad as it used to be, and the positive side is so much better. So, you go through it one time and you clean up a lot, and you go back through and you sweep up, and each time there's little growth, but you just have to keep working at it, and you see the success as you go forward farther and farther and farther in the walk and in the steps. And that's why they call it steps, because you're putting one foot in front of the other and you're moving forward and you're moving forward and you're moving forward. And most anybody that you ask about me will tell you that I'm a pretty good guy. And even in talking to some of my friends that are even on here tonight, I was like, man, I just don't feel like I'm doing anything useful. And somebody else with a clearer vision can look at you and say, you're doing better than you think you are. So it's always good to be surrounded by a support group, and that's why we're here, because we are a support group, to be able to help you realize we're not as bad as we think we are. We're not as bad as our last worst act. That's what we think of. But the fact is, our lives are an accumulation of the total of years and total of things we've done, and nobody is as bad as what you probably think you are when you get ready to sit and do this inventory. Remember to look for the good stuff. And the most horrible thing that you think you've done when it comes to looking at God's mercy, God is looking and anxious to forgive you. That's right. The price has already been paid for the worst thing you'll ever do. And none of us have done anything worse than something we've read about in the Bible. There are just atrocious, monstrous things that people did in the Bible, and they were forgiven for. And we think, well, no, I'm the worst man that ever lived, and God could never have compassion. Well, He will, because He already has for somebody else. And you're not bigger than God, and your opinion is not bigger than God. And we tend to think that I can't forgive myself because I have the power to do that, to either forgive myself or not, and I have the power. And you do actually have the power to decide whether or not you're going to forgive yourself. You can decide that you want to pick up the garbage and you want to hold on to it and you want to press it into your chest and you want it to be, I want to identify with my garbage and I want to live with it because at least it's comfortable and it's mine. That's what people do. To grow hurts. To step away even from pain is scary because you've never felt what feels good and what good feels like. To have the refreshing feel of forgiveness, to know that God's forgiven me, people have forgiven me, and I have forgiven myself. And we think, well, I don't deserve that. And you're right. We don't deserve that. But that's not what God's plan was. God's plan was, I love you anyway, so I will forgive you. And other people in your life, for the most part, want to forgive you. Some of them want to hold on to the garbage and hold you accountable, but their opinion is not higher than God's. And we should want to love ourselves and forgive ourselves, because once we reach that point, we can put all the garbage away. We don't need to punish ourselves with some sort of bad behavior, or we don't need to relieve the pain and hurt by some sort of a drug or some sort of, whatever it is that you chase that takes away that pain for the moment. Just being able to walk in refreshment and freedom because of God's love and grace is the most wonderful thing. So when you do your inventory, remember, do both sides. Make the list, good stuff, bad stuff. And got to be honest, because it's really easy to be dishonest and say, well, I'm a horrible person, I'm a horrible person, I'm a horrible person, and not put anything on the other side. But if you think about it, I'm sure there are lots of good things you've done, even if it's no more than help a little old lady across the street or mow the next door neighbor's yard or just something. If you start thinking of the little things that you've done in your life and you put them on the right side of that, on the plus columns, we're not as bad as what we think we are. Yeah, we've done bad things. We need grace. God's standing up and just waiting for us to ask and say, hey, forgive me, and he's going to forgive us. And the freedom and refreshment that you feel in your heart when you reach that point and get this garbage out of your life is just absolutely amazing. Love y'all. Want what's best for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Love you too, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Woo! That was good, Paul.
Thank you.
That was really
Zach.
good.
Hey, can we go around our Zoom room and let everybody say hi?
Sure. Me start off. I'm Zach. Glad you guys are here tonight. Next.
I'm Debbie. I'm glad you're here tonight. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'm Lisa. Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
This is Paul. I'm hating not being able to get together and have our meetings. I really miss you guys, and loving you from here is great, but it sure is much better when we're all in the same room.
Hi, I'm Renee. Love to have y'all come down and see us, and we'd love to have you anytime.
Hey, I'm Steve. I miss you guys.
I'm
John.
Me. I'm Patty. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Patty.
Hi guys, I'm Kate.
Kate.
Hey.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, guys. I'm John.
Hi, John.
John.
John's new to the meeting tonight. He's not new to the meeting, but he's new to the Zoom meeting.
And YouTube is having some issues.
Now,
Well,
let's not forget that Lisa had a birthday this week.
Yeah.
Boy, you're right.
Hey,
Happy
happy birthday,
birthday to
Lisa.
you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, Lisa, on your
Love you so much.
24th birthday.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We'll go with that, Doug. You heard it from Doug. It must be true.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not official until Doug sings you happy birthday.
That's right.
All right. Well, you said you had a video that we were playing.
We recorded a video with Steve and Renee. That's who spoke to us a minute ago. And whenever Whitney's ready, she tested it earlier, so hopefully we're in good shape. But I haven't heard anything from her. Oh, there she's coming in. All right. Hello, everyone here at Saturday Night Live. We welcome you, and we have a extra special treat. We have a word from Steve and Renee. Renee's going to lead us off. Renee and Steve were at the first or second meeting. Was it first or second? Second. And I remember Renee. On that day, is it all right for me to talk about just a little bit about Renee? That she was almost in a semi-trance state, I would say, wouldn't you? Just really closed down, closed up, maybe numbed up. We could throw some other adjectives in there, but we won't. And but one of the discussions that I remember us having on that night after the meeting, because Saturday night we normally have a 2-hour meeting, and I remember Renee not believing that she was able to be forgiven, right, Renee? And I talked with Renee and tried to help her to grasp that she could be, and that if she asked Jesus to save her, forgive her, she would be. And she did right then. She was open to that, but she still didn't believe that. Am I telling the truth, Renee? Yes. And then I said, didn't you ask him? And you said, yes, I did. And I said, well, he said that if you ask him, he'd forgive you. I said that, right, Renee? 15 years ago. And she said, okay. And I said, so if he said he'd do it, he'd do it. And he said, well, that's what he said. And so the next question I asked her was, well, did he do it? And she said, no, I don't think so. And I said, well, who do you think you are? Are you playing God here? Because if God has forgiven you, we just need to accept that. And if you don't accept that after you've asked him, then what you're doing is you're pretending to be God and you're higher than God. And she said, oh, no, I'm not trying to be God. I don't want to be God. But that's what a lot of us have done. And what's been a real blessing to me is out of Steve and Renee, that they have continued to push and grow. That it's not been flawless because it's not for any of us. But it's been one step after another, and even though they have their own defects and flaws, they've helped people along the way, and people were better for it. A lot of times Renee thinks that she can't help anybody, but Steve says, she sounds just like you, Doug. And I said, well, where do you think I get all my stuff? I get it from Renee. And so anyway, I just want to welcome them and thank them for being a part of Saturday Night Live. And I know that their words will be a blessing to you. So strap in and hold on.
Hi, everyone. My name is Renee. I've been coming to Saturday Night Live for 15 years on and off, and it is our anniversary, so happy anniversary to Saturday Night Live. God bless all of you. I just want to spend a few moments with all of you. I'll start by saying I have been ridden with guilt and shame and other kinds of abuse. I've been drugging and drinking for 43 years. I'm now 58 years old, and there are a lot of shady things I did to get the things that were out to destroy me. I'm really stubborn. I've been coming to meetings on and off for 15 years. Stubborn, yeah. Well, I prayed, but kept on my daily routines, telling myself I'll never stop. Well, all of a sudden, I decided to look at all the money I was wasting and my health declining, physically and especially mentally. Finally, thanks to God, He has delivered me from these habits I've had for 43 years. I am so grateful to God because He has forgiven me and given me freedom from drugs and alcohol, etc. I know how real God is, and because I'm so thankful, I now spend time reading God's Word. I've had no craving or desires for alcohol or drugs. That's how God works. Once you get sick of what you're doing, besides the money and the health it's robbing you of, I plead with you, the book of God tells you that if you surrender to the Almighty, this change will happen. The thing is, it's for everyone who asks. I don't even crave any of it, and I've done some pretty awful things for drugs and alcohol, and if you're like me, you probably have too. I've been ashamed and hated my whole life. I made poor choices because I was making wrong decisions. I'm here to tell you that God has forgiven me and loves me, and even in my addiction, God still loved me, and He loves you too. God knows how destructive drugs and alcohol are to us. Now I am free from these destructive habits. I believe I couldn't or wouldn't stop drinking. I said to myself, it's only beer. But after a while, it consumed my mind, and all I would think about was how quick I could get beer, pot, or pills. One day, by the grace of God, I became sick of this behavior, and it took 43 years, and I hope and pray that you don't waste your life believing that lie, that you are worthless and you are no one. But finally, I surrendered to God. You talk about being slow, but that doesn't even matter because God has forgiven me and removed my shame and guilt. I didn't know any better. I didn't feel loved by my family or others, so I took on things that no one should have done to me. But that's probably all they knew. I forgive them, and I know I am a new creation in Christ. It feels so good not to hate myself, and I'm not going to tear myself down with any of this stuff. There is freedom and love and forgiveness, mercy, grace, and peace in Jesus. I'm only sharing these things with you because I love you. I understand your pain, and I want you to give Jesus a chance. I tried everything my way, and it led to disaster for 43 years. But I'm grateful for my new life, heart, and peace I have. I'll pray for all of you who are like me. This gift from Jesus is for anyone who asks and means it in their heart. Jesus is all we need. I hope you have received a touch from God, and there is hope in Jesus. Jesus loves all of us no matter where we're at, and He is willing to help anyone who asks Him to. I can't express to you how wonderful my life is. Thanks be to God. If you should trip up and just don't give up, get up, dust yourself off, start again. Jesus is really here, and He hears your cries for help. He He sees your misery and he wants to remove your pain, shame, guilt, and replace it with love and kindness. Try something different. Don't be afraid. There is hope in Jesus. God bless all of you. I love all of you, but most of all, God loves all of you. In my heart, I've been coming here for 15 years, and it started the course that is taking place in my life right now. I'm very stubborn, but God is all powerful, and He has heard me crying and carrying on, and I want for you to surrender and stop feeling like you're worthless and nothing and nobody, because you are somebody, and God loves you, and we love you, and we encourage you to come to the meeting and just accept Jesus, and you will find what you've been looking for will be given to you, because God promises it in His Word if it's the right thing. I love you. Thank you.
I'm just going to take an opportunity to talk a little bit about Saturday Night Live, since it's been 15 years. Hard for me to believe. I had hair then. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. I just want to, I'm completely blessed and thankful for Saturday Night Live and where it brought me from. Just the things I've learned down here. I often say that, I've had to learn to do life. And truth is, Saturday Night Live has taught me a lot about doing life and how to live the right way. Doug's been down here these 15 years, and he's the person that helps us get unstuck. He's the tow truck. I think about just all the, I don't know, probably thousands of people that have been down here and walked through these doors, And, a lot of the lives have changed. A lot, it's a lot of good things have happened down here. We have lost people, like Doug's always told us, as years go by that, there's people we're going to lose, and it burdens my heart, to try harder to try and reach these people. And, I'm thankful for this church that it's let us have this meeting for 15 years, and that God uses Saturday Night Live as a platform for us to reach out and help others. There's a lot of things I could say about this meeting that just touch my heart. There's a verse, and you guys have probably heard me say it before. I think it's Proverbs 3:27. It says, "Do not refuse good to those who deserve it when it's in your heart to do so." It's not always easy to help people. It's tough, as a matter of fact. Kudos to Doug and his tow truck abilities. But the thing is, we can all reach out to somebody and offer help. And the good thing about it is that when you help others, it helps you. God designed it that way. You reap what you sow. So, I just want to tell everybody to be blessed. And I pray for another 15 years and many more lives to be touched and changed by the power of Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and the things that Doug teaches us down here that help us learn how to do life. Thanks, guys. I love you all. Bye.
I didn't get to hear any of it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of it either.
we had some technical difficulties.
Yep.
So I was able, because I am sharing a watch party, I was able to listen to part of it, and I just want to tell Steve and Renee did a good job. And I guess this would be the time if they wanted to add anything. This would be time for that before we move forward. So, Steve and Renee, you got the floor if you want to add anything.
I'll just, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful, that Saturday Night Live, I've been able to be a part of it for this long. And, I'm just completely grateful for everything that goes on there. I didn't get to hear the video or see it, so.
Yeah, it looked good. It looked good.
We'll watch Zach's watch party later.
Yeah.
Renee, you want to say anything?
I just want to say that I'm grateful for Saturday Night Live, especially for Doug. He has never given up on me or anybody that I know of. And he has, the first time I met him, he said something to me that kind of made me mad, but in actuality, he was shining the light in the darkness, and I didn't understand it at the time. But now I do, and I'm ever so grateful for him and his compassion and his concern, and that he never gives up on anybody. And I hope that all of you will come down and check us out and see what we have to offer, because we love all of you. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Renee.
You guys have been a part of us for a long time, and we miss you guys. And like Renee said, come check us out if you're watching us online on YouTube or Facebook Live. Come check us out. It's a lot better in person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with that, we'll hand it over to Doug.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate, emceeing and I feel like I'm getting some feedback from someplace, but we're having different different technical situations here tonight. So I want to thank Zach and Patty. Thank you, Patty, for taking care of the steps there. This whole Zoom, virus thing that we're going through is kind of put us in we're learning a lot of new stuff, making things actually they feel very uncomfortable, but it's pushing us out of all of our comfort zones. Would you agree with that, guys?
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
And so may I confess, trying to share a message, and some of you guys are already doing it with the steps and the reflections and the MCing, but trying to share some thoughts.
Yeah.
It's a lot different on in this situation. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Oh. But this is our 15th year anniversary, and I want to thank all. And it's not just Doug, but there's been a team throughout these 15 years, starting with Daryl Long and myself, and Daryl came to me with the idea of starting a meeting, and actually I told him I'd already had a recovery meeting for over 5 years, and it didn't work out very well, and so I had shut it down. It had been several years, and he seemed to be real excited. I said, but we'll give it a shot, and so that's what we did, and that's the reason why we started 15 years ago. And of course now Daryl has his meeting, the Lazarus Ministry, and doing a lot of good things, and of course we're still here doing what we're doing, hopefully a lot of good things. And so I just appreciate you folks that are here, those that are not here with us tonight on Zoom, but a lot of people. As I was watching some of my live on my phone, I saw a lot of folks come on. Some of them may have come quite a bit. And by the way, Ashley came on, Debbie, and waved, and I really meant to send her an invitation, but with all the confusion, I didn't get that done. And Ashley, if you're still watching, I'm sorry about that. But anyway, tonight we're talking about step 4, and step 4 is a really important and critical message. And by the way, last week we had internet problems again with technical issues, and about half of what I shared last week didn't get on Facebook and YouTube. And I may go back when I get inspired to cover the things that I talked about last week, and because I really felt like it was important, but it was important for the Zoom folks, hopefully, that were here. But anyway, that was then. This is now. We'll go forward now, because what we're interested in is what we can deal with right this moment. Okay.
Yep.
And so here's step 4. We're making a fearless and moral inventory of ourselves, taking inventory, and we get normally fearful about examinations. Would you agree with that, guys?
Yep. Yes.
We don't want to examine ourselves, and we usually don't want anybody else examining us, right?
Yep.
Whether it's a doctor or a moral inventory like step 4, that we examine ourselves or somebody else, looking at what we're doing and evaluating what we're doing. And it usually kind of either makes us nervous or we don't want to do it. And why do you think that is? Why is it you think we avoid that? Any comments from the Zoom participants? Anyone?
Because we don't like criticism.
We don't like looking at that stuff. It feels like shame, or it feels like too much attention.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
Yeah. We want to deny it, put it in the dark, avoid it, pretend it didn't happen. We don't want to think about it. And if we do all that, then what happens is then we don't deal with it. Okay, it continually pushes us around, even though we're saying we're not thinking about it. Unconsciously, we're always walking around with, like you said, Patty, we're walking around in that state of shame.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
As I was preparing this and I was thinking about it after I was going over my notes, I remembered a personal story. Everybody likes me to tell about myself. So Paul has disappeared on me there, but he's always wanting me to talk about me. So here we are. So maybe he can still hear. But back in the 1970s, somewhere in there, I had a knee problem that it was extremely painful, and that getting in and out of the car, I had to actually pick my leg up to put it in the car because of my knee. Anybody ever had any one of those type situations?
Yep.
And it was extremely painful. It was it was extremely hard to go upstairs, walk upstairs. Anyway, it was not good. And I put up with it and put up with it and put up with it. And the pain continued to get worse. I was recommended by my doctor to go see a surgeon. And the pain actually forced me into some sort of action. The pain actually forced me into some sort of action, right? Anybody familiar with that scenario of events? And so the pain caused me to go ahead and look at what was going on in my knee, right? I didn't want to, right?
Yep.
But I did anyway. And so I went and talked to the doctor, and the doctor looked at it. He examined me, and he told me that I was going to have surgery on my knee. And I said, "Doc, is there anything I can do to avoid the surgery?" And he said, "No, you have to have surgery. You've torn some tissue in there. You're going to have surgery." I said, "Are you absolutely sure? Is there any way around this?" And he said no, because he told me that what they'd have to do is put a tourniquet on my leg and shut off the blood and cut it open. It was going to be, the surgery is going to be painful, and it was going to be expensive. Well, I didn't particularly like the pain part, but when we got to the expensive part, that was really painful. Anybody know what I'm talking about? And so, because in those days I didn't have insurance, okay, and so it's only been in the last few years that I have had any insurance, and so I said, so there's absolutely no way that my knee can get better, and he guaranteed me there was no way. There was only one way, and that was surgery. Well, see, I wouldn't have, what he did was he challenged me. He didn't realize he challenged me, but if you don't mind me telling this story, what that did, that caused me to direct my attention, my faith. He gave me enough of a picture to understand what was in there and what needed to be fixed, restored, healed in my knee. And so instead of avoiding the situation of my knee, I started addressing my knee. I started praying for my healing of my knee, and focusing and seeing in my own mind what it is I wanted to happen. And which was different than what the doctor said, because the doctor said it's not going to get better, it's only going to get worse. Does that make sense? And so what I'm saying here, I'm likening this to an inventory. I took inventory of what was going on in my body, okay? And fortunately, I was able to focus and pray and meditate on that on my knee, and that's been, well, like I said, it was back in the 70s, and the doctor was evidently made a mistake, because I've never had surgery on that knee, and I jog and go upstairs, and I've done everything all these years, and so all I can say is somehow that knee got healed, and maybe God healed me. What do you think? Yeah. So my point here is, I didn't want to examine it. I didn't want to have the examination, but the pain caused me to take a look at it. And that's what inventories do with us, okay? Is we go ahead and take a look at it, and because it wasn't going to go away, I had to deal with it. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Hello, I can't see Renee.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Renee, get over in the picture so I can see you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yogurt.
Yes, it makes sense.
So it wasn't going away, just so if you missed it a while ago, because it wasn't going away, it was only going to get worse. I went on and I decided I was going to have to deal with it. And so I decided to start working with dealing with it. And so that the pain drove me into evaluating and going ahead and changing I decided to change my focus. This is very important. Oftentimes we're in the middle of our stuff. All we can see is where we're afraid we're going to go. And so we continually look at where we don't want to go. And then that's where we end up going, is because that's where we're looking, right?
Right.
Yep.
And so all we have to do is what I did with my knee, if you don't mind me using me as an illustration, I saw that tissue coming back together, slowly knitting up that tear from the bottom up, pulling it together. It didn't have to happen all at once. It just had to start happening. Does that make sense? That's how I saw it. And evidently something like that happened. I don't know what happened. All I know is something happened. Okay. And so because I was willing to deal with it. Now, you don't have to deal with it. I didn't have to deal with my problem, and I could continue to have my problem, and I could decide not to have the surgery. But what I would end up doing would continually live in a suffering state. Does that make sense? Suffering state.
Yep.
And a lot of us out there, not just on the Zoom network here, but out there in Facebook and YouTube land, you have decided there's nothing you could do about it. You're just going to live in a suffering state. You're going to be nihilistic about it. You're just going to say, there's no meeting. I'm just going to suffer. I'm just going to fall back and just let life chew me up until it eats me completely up. What do you think about that, guys?
Yep.
And so what we have to do is we have to decide we're going to do something. And the first step of doing something about it is recognizing you got a problem and that you're going to take this inventory, and this inventory helps you to decide what you need to do. You're dragging this stuff out of the darkness, because if we don't want to deal with it, we push it into the darkness, right?
Yep.
We find excuses to cover it up, right? Or I've been this way since I was whatever age, since I was 5, since I was 10, since this happened or that happened. We build up a story to help us to stay in our mess.
That's just the way I am.
And that's the way I am. That's just the way I am. And I can't change, because that's just the way I am. That's what I used to think.
Well, it is, always is.
And so what we have to do is we have to decide to change. And I really like this thought about we really can't change the outside until we change our inside, that inner vision of ourselves. We got to do the inner work so things on the outside change. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so what if, oh, by the way, I really have a belief that I try not to make people think certain ways. What I want to do is help you to be able to think so you can evaluate the things that I say and decide if they're in your best interest or not, if they line up with the truth or not, and if that's what's good for you, if that's in your best interest. So I don't want to teach you what to think. I want to teach you how to think. Does that ring true with everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I think that empowers you, and that helps you to connect better with God, with the Holy Spirit. So what if, and that's a thought question, by the way, what if our shame our emotional pain, our traumatic memories, missteps in life, regrets, sin, could all be reset or restarted or maybe even forgiven. What if that could happen?
Would be good.
That'd be a good thing, wouldn't it?
Ooh,
Hasn't Jesus already forgiven us?
Yes, he has. The only trouble is we're unwilling to accept that grace.
Yep.
I know that feeling.
No, we all, you know, and that's because it's easier to believe the lie about ourselves than it is of God's grace and the truth. Right?
The truth
And
holds us accountable.
Say it again.
The truth holds us accountable.
Yes.
It'll also set you free.
Yes. And the trouble is, what we're doing is normally we believe in the lie more than the truth. And so, what if we knew whatever we found in our inventory? Okay, whatever we knew that we found in our inventory and or in our memories. How about that? Maybe we don't want to do inventory, but we have these memories that come up and push us around, or maybe in our dreams, dreams that come in and or some, maybe they're not dreams, maybe they're nightmares. What if we could be forgiven of all this stuff? Okay, what if if not only could we be forgiven, but maybe it could be removed if we're willing to allow those things. And the only way we can do that is be willing to step into it. And that's hard stuff. That's tough stuff. But that's important stuff. And that's healthy stuff. And it takes some strength and courage to do that. So would it be as scary to do a fearless and honest inventory if we knew that what we found either has been or would be dealt with, taken care of, eliminated, forgiven, altered, changed, removed?
yes.
If we already knew that it's not new information to God, and it's not even new information to us oftentimes, and all he wants to do is he wants us to bring it to him so that he can take it from us. All we have to do is give it, right? He gives us mercy and grace and salvation. All we have to do is receive it, and all we have to do is give him our stuff. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I heard a story long time ago about a guy that supposedly was on the Titanic. You know the Titanic, right?
Right.
And
I love that movie.
okay, I've never watched the movie.
You haven't missed anything.
Oh, yeah.
I heard it was 3 days long, so
It's a lot of water.
It's worth it.
A lot of water.
It's a good love story.
oh, you guys are making me laugh. But I heard the story about a guy that was on the Titanic. I don't know if it's about the Titanic, but this is a good story. So
I have
whether
to get into my phone, Doug. It's my brother. About my
Okay.
other brother.
your other brother. Well, I think I know what she means by that. So,
I mean, I'm assuming.
but the
No, I haven't heard anything.
I am going to mute her. Okay, at least I think I am. So I back to my story. I'd heard about the guy that was on the Titanic, and he had he took his money in a money belt, and it was in gold. And when the Titanic was getting going down, he was trying to get into a lifeboat or into something to life preserver or something like that, and jumped into the water to be able to get into it. And because he had that heavy belt around his waist, it continued to take him down. And so what he needed to do now, all we know is he didn't come back up, but all he needed to do was let go of that was weighting him down. And that's the point of my story. What we have to do is let go of that that's weighting us down. And see, that stuff that's weighting us down, we find value in it oftentimes, somehow. We even say we can't live without it, right? You've heard some of that before.
Yep.
Maybe you've even said it. And so, I can't let this go because this is so important. And this guy, for whatever reason, either he couldn't get his money belt off, or he didn't think about it, or he didn't want to let it go, trying to figure out another way as he went down. You know, he didn't let go of that was taking him under. And we know some people that wouldn't let go of that stuff that was taking them down, right out of our meeting here, out of Saturday Night Live, because people die every year out of this meeting, and they're good people. We love them, we care about them, and some of them even turn their life around, and now they're just trying to recapture life and recapture health, but because maybe they spent who knows how many years in their addictions and behaviors. And so anyway, my point of the story is those things that we find valuable, oftentimes they're what's killing us, and we need to let them go. Would you agree with that, guys? And so, and that's a hard thing to do, though. That's a hard thing to do, but it's a healthy thing to do. And our inventory, a moral inventory, is part of that process to help us to do it. It is scary, it's hard, but it's healthy. And so I just want to make this final point here, and that is that the character traits that offsets the character flaws. What offsets the character flaws is honesty and humility. And honesty and humility, they are a character strength, and that helps us in our recovery, because in our self-denial, which is a lie, our distortions of reality, our avoidance of dealing with the truth, lying to ourselves and lying to others and lying to even God, trying to lie to God, that continues to cause us to have those character flaws. But when we're honest, and when we have humility, we're humble before Him, that's character strengths, and that builds our life. You want to build your life? Become more honest with yourself, particularly with yourself. And if you can be honest with yourself, then you'll be apt to be more honest with others and with God. Would you agree with that, guys?
Yes.
Yep.
Good. Thank you for that. And so what we need to do is we need to keep in mind those character strengths that we want to have in our life, and be as thorough as possible to and honest towards long if we are thorough at this, it will help us to come into more long-term recovery. And recovery is not just abstinence, which abstinence is important. Okay, stop using, stop doing, stop behaving, stop acting out. All those are important stuff. But the most important, in my opinion, of the recovery aspect of things in life recovery, because that's what we're dealing with here, is recovery of life. Our life is to have long-term internal recovery, and that means that my thoughts change, my heart change, my attitudes change, my behaviors change, but because I've started on the inside, it starts coming out to those around us. And hopefully I'm communicating this with succinctly here, but God wants to bring health and healing into all your troubled areas. And if we hide them from ourselves, we're really then trying to hide them from God, but He knows them. Would you agree with that? So if we can drag them out into the light where their healing and health and restoration is. I know it's scary, but it's healthy. And that would be my suggestion to you. Think about it. See if that can help you. And by the way, anytime we make healthy steps, we get more uncomfortable with those healthy steps because we're going into a new area in our life that's uncomfortable, that's hard, that we need emotional endurance in, and so it's hard, but it's healthy. It's healthy because there's change, and there's always pain with growth. There's always pain with healing. If you think about a surgery, or if you have a tooth worked on, it was painful before, but then there's painful during and after. But the idea is that you deal with the problem. Dealing with it is painful, but afterwards, then things can come back into a healing state and more peace in your life. And that's what we're all looking for, right? I want to conclude with a quote. How's that? You guys like quotes? And this is let me find it. Blaise Pascal, that says that it is the heart which experiences God, not the reason. Shall I say that again? It is the heart which experiences God, not the reason. Pascal was a philosopher, teacher, mathematician, and he was oftentimes we want to deny what's going on inside of ourselves. And so what we need to do is open up our heart instead of closing up our heart, because we like to close our heart up and shield ourselves. But to really have healing, we have to open our heart up. I want to go on and say the rest of that statement. This then is faith. God felt by the heart, not by reason. Another quote is very similar to this. Pascal said, he says, the heart has its reasons, which reason knows nothing of. What do you think?
Yep.
Hi, Bill.
How y'all doing?
Okay, I admitted you on there in the middle of my little talk there. I'm glad you made it, Billy.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm glad you made it.
I'm
And
glad to be.
we're at the very end of our meeting, Bill. And so
No.
and so I just want to say thank you to the Zoom group, those that are still with us. We've had a couple that left, and We had, of course, Bill, you just got here. I'm glad you did. And thank you to Steve and Renee for that testimony that everybody will have to watch later. And Renee is doing an amazing job. You know, we all have our stuff, and Renee has been working on her stuff. And one of the good things about Steve and Renee is they don't quit, because you win if you don't quit. So just keep after it, keep going. You know, everybody's recovery is unique to them. And as far as I'm concerned, not everybody agrees with me. They can be wrong if they want to. It's a joke, but everybody's recovery is unique, and what works for you, work it, okay? And the rest of the story is sometimes what works earlier in our recovery, there's variations later on, and you just have to be open. And everybody on the outside can tell you how you should do it, but but God has given us the Holy Spirit to tell us how to do it on the inside. Now, you know, I can give you some insights and directions, but it's only as valuable if it can line up with your truth on the inside. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
And all we want at Saturday Night Live is for you to get better and to do better. And because when you do better, we all do better. The entire world does better. And when you are being healed, that heals all of us.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
Any comments from anyone? I know I didn't give you much opportunity to comment. Debbie, you got anything to say?
No. I have to keep muting because I live on the train tracks and stuff. And
Well, and you have to keep moving too if you're living on the train tracks, because you have to keep jumping off.
right. And then a storm is brewed up down here again. I don't know what it is talking with y'all. You bring a storm with you.
Okay. I was making reference that if you were living on the train tracks, then you had to jump off when the train comes by. So
That's right. That's right. And I've always lived on the train tracks since I was a little kid.
okay. Paul, you have anything you'd like to say, add in conclusion?
No, just good stuff tonight.
It was good. Hey, Kate, you have anything you want to add?
Nope, it was good.
Glad you're here with us.
Me too.
Lisa, you have anything you'd like to say?
No, I don't have anything.
All right. And Patty, anything in conclusion?
She must still be with a brother.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm here. Will everybody pray for my brother and me too, because he's in the hospital and in very poor shape. His kidneys are only working 7%, and I'm here by myself, and I'm dealing with quite a bit of stuff right now.
Okay. Well, we'll pray for you and for Mike.
Thank you.
All right. And Zach, any comments?
No, I thought it was good tonight. You know, the stuff you were talking about. Sometimes that stuff we want to hang on to is just familiar to us. And that's maybe all that we think we've known, or we've known it for so long. It's hard to do something new, and it's scary, but we're never going to have anything better unless we do something different. And so I thought it was good tonight. I thank everybody that I miss everybody, and love you all. And I want to say that, you know, I think things are getting better out there, but they're not all the way better yet. And just in the last few days, I've seen a lot of folks, they're not taking precautions anymore because they're going to supposedly release us on the 4th of the 6th or something. But I just want to encourage folks that this isn't over yet, and we still need to be careful. And you know, I was seeing when I went to the store to go shopping for the family or something, I was seeing, you know, like everybody in the store had a mask and everybody maintaining distance and stuff. And, you know, we went out today and I saw one person, you know, and it's like everybody just thinks everything's back to normal, and it isn't yet. And we got to keep using wisdom. And I just want everybody to stay safe and take care of themselves. So.
Yes, I agree, Zach, and probably it's going to be more important to do the distancing and taking care of ourselves after we go back, because that's where not to act in fear, but that we just, because I think the possibility of exposure will go up, and of course, and so so just be smart and be safe. Thank you, Zach. John, look, I think John's frozen. Okay. Hey, Stephen, Renee, any final words from Renee? How about Renee? You're muted. Let's unmute you. I got you.
I just want to say once again that I had believed that drugs and alcohol or whatever was numbing me from my pain. But in actuality, I would just get high and drunk and think about it even more. And so it took a long time for me to realize that it was causing me more problems than if I just went through the pain of getting past it. And it wasn't easy, and it hasn't been easy, but it's doable, and it's for everybody. And all you have to do is ask God to help you, and He will.
Thank you, Renee.
Good stuff, Renee.
Yeah. That smart guy behind you, do you have anything to say?
I'm just glad I got to finally figure this Zoom thing out. I'm not sure I've got it down right now. I think I kind of accidentally slipped in here somehow.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did.
I kind of have a question.
Yes.
Well, is anybody else kind of, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I kind of like this staying at home because I can hide and isolate. And that's kind of a bad thing. So kind of worrying about getting back out and getting myself active again. I mean, but then again, I have peace, but I kind of like the hiding too. And
what's your question?
If anybody else can relate to that. Am I alone?
No, you're not alone. But I did have a thought that I wanted to share tonight on that point right there is social distancing is important, but not social isolation.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to be socially connected, even though we're doing it from a healthy distance. Okay.
Good.
So we need to be connected, but do it in a healthy way.
That's also good.
Right?
That's good.
Right.
Very good.
Yes.
I heard a saying one that said, we need to be socially distant, but not emotionally disconnected.
That's good. I like that.
That was
stay
good.
emotionally connected, even if we're socially isolated into our home. We can just connecting, like right here, Patty, is us reaching out to each other and staying connected, calling someone on the phone. Those are those things. Even though we can't be together face to face, we can be together spirit to spirit. And so that's what we've got to do as a team, is stay connected.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, I've been doing that, so I'm okay, really. I'm probably doing better than I thought.
I've been encouraging folks to phone a friend, and if you can Zoom, then you can do FaceTime. And so it's not the same thing, but FaceTime folks that, healthy friends and family, not people that are, you don't want to be FaceTiming somebody using. It's a trigger. But, those little things go a long way, and I know I said this last week, but you got to get out of the house. Even if you're just in your car, it's different. Get in your car, roll the windows down. Today we went for a drive, and it's good for your soul. You get busy through the work week and working from home, and then you're tired, and you don't want to go anywhere, and you end up being in the house 1, 2, 3 days, and or it gets convenient to you don't have to get up and get a shower and get dressed for work. You can just get up and go to your desk in your pajamas and work, and or if you don't work, it's easy that way, but it's not healthy. It's healthier to get up and keep all those things going like normal, and getting out of the house is important. I'm trying to get out of the house every day, even if I don't have to, and that can be sitting on the porch or going for a walk or going for a drive, but it's important.
Okay.
That's what we call self-care, right?
Yes.
Right. We need to take care of ourselves.
We need it more now than ever,
Yes.
and just the little things right now are important, because, when we have a schedule, then, we eat a certain time and we bathe a certain time and we sleep a certain time, and if you're not careful, if you look over the last month, you may find that you don't sleep like you used to or the same time frame you used to. You don't eat when you used to. It kind of drifts off, and then pretty soon, oh, well, I've only ate once today, or I've ate twice today, or I ate all day long. The structure, we think that we don't need structure after we get some years of recovery under our belt, but we all need structure, and when everything is, turned upside down like it is right now, it's not a weak thing. It's a strong thing to put some of those things back in place. So, even those little bitty things count.
Good.
Good meeting, Doug. Good meeting.
Bill, did you want to say anything in closing?
It's nice seeing y'all. It's been a long time. I don't know how to say it, but it's nice seeing y'all.
And John, go ahead.
I want to say something. I am an awesome spirit being. I'm a magnificent person. Deeply loved. I am deeply loved by God. I am fully pleasing to God. I'm totally accepted by God. I'm absolutely complete in Christ. When my person is expressed through my performance, that reflects the dynamically unique. There has never been another like me in the history of mankind. I'm an original, one of a kind, really somebody, and so are you.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you, Bill.
Good meeting tonight, Doug.
Thank you, John. Anything else, John?
No, just keep going on.
Yep. One more final thought on isolations. Patty, you were talking about. I heard a researcher talking the other day that just seeing somebody on a video releases oxytocin in your body, which is a connection hormone, which you need to have to survive, to feel social connection. And so tonight, we, whether you realize it or not, we all shared some oxytocin tonight, and that did something to our heart and to our spirits. And to those that are watching on YouTube, we shared it with them and Facebook. And so and that's we send love and peace and a touch from the Holy Spirit. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So may the Lord bless you all and all those that are out there in virtual reality. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you and give you his peace. Hey, and make healthy choices, right?
Amen.
Make healthy choices. And hey, take care of yourself. And I want you to have a good day, good night, good life. How about that?
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, is next Saturday night, are we going to be in the building?
No, because the order is not until it doesn't shift until Monday, and we're not even on the 4th, and we don't even know what that looks like. We will be having a leadership meeting on the 4th, May the 4th, and right now I'm planning on doing that by Zoom unless you hear otherwise.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah. I want to get back together, but I think we need to take it slow.
Right.
So I think we just need to be careful. So
Okay. Well, everybody say good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.